Explain the following. The importance of détente in de-escalating tensions between the USA and the USSR. 8 marks. The importance of the Second Cold War on increasing tensions between the USA and the USSR. 8 marks. This is the mark scheme for this question, which you can find out about in more detail in the overview video. 8 marks here are awarded for AO2, which is your analysis of consequence and significance. So that requires you to take the first element of the question and think about what is important about it in relation to the second element of the question. Making those links between the two different elements of the question is how you are analytical and how you score highly for AO2. 8 marks are also awarded for AO1, which is your knowledge and understanding of the topic. So you need to be bringing in evidence from your own knowledge to support your argument for this question. These are the bands for this question. Again, you can find out about these in more detail in the overview video. But generally, to do well in this question, you need to be analytical. And that really comes down to making clear links between the importance of the first event on the second event, so the two different elements of the question. You should also have a clear line of argument so the examiner can see really clearly what you're trying to get across. Your structure should also be quite easy to follow, so try not to go off on too many tangents. Keep it as relevant and focused as you can. Also on AO1, you should be bringing in relevant details from your own knowledge to support what you're trying to say, so using that evidence from your existing understanding, really just to demonstrate to the examiner that you know what you're talking about. As long as the points you make when answering this question are relevant and correct, the examiner will give you the marks for them. But let's take a look at some examples. So you could have said for the first question that détente was important because it marked a mutual attempt to relax tensions. So if you want to explain that in more detail, you could say that after the Cuban Missile Crisis, both sides became increasingly aware of the other's nuclear capabilities and the danger that that posed. So détente showed that both sides were committed to preventing another nuclear confrontation. Now that point shows that I've taken my initial point and used my own knowledge to explain why that was important and made comments which link that back to the question. So I've shown that I've taken the first element of the question, so détente, and the second element of the question, so the de-escalation of tensions, and really shown that I've made a link between the two and why the first element was important for the second element, which really is what they're looking for here. The same applies for the second question. So an example of a point you could have made here could have been based on the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979. Now, to explain that and why that was important, you can say that the USA interpreted it as an example of aggressive expansionism, particularly because of their economic interest in the oil in the Persian Gulf. You could then show even more contextual knowledge by saying that President Carter committed the USA to taking all necessary measures to protect their oil supplies. So really they were committed to doing whatever it takes, and that meant that tensions between the USA and the USSR increased. Again, you can see that link between the two elements of the question, a really nicely developed point using lots of background knowledge, and that I've thought very carefully about the importance. Take a look at the rest of the points here to see if there's anything you could have added to your answer.